All right, we are back with a clinical conversation. Ashley Langford, Adam Goodrich, and today we're talking about, I'm going to come right out of the gate, life and learning, and say, Ashley, what is it like to work all week and then attend a course Saturday and Sunday and then have to return to work on Monday? And as a clinician, you get a stressful work week into an intense learning session Saturday, Sunday, into another stressful work week. What is that like for you, the clinician?
Right, great question. It's go, 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 right? Looking back on it from my personal experience, and I know this would follow for others, but some of that depends on your life and what you have going on at that point in time, So for example, you might have a year or so where you are just all into it, you're connected, taking courses, and that investment is worth it to you. It pays off. And other times where maybe stepping away from family and home is not the right time to do it, and that's totally okay. So having time off is important. But personally, after working through the week, if you don't take any PTO and you go right into a course, yes, stepping into it it's natural to seem like a lot. You are thinking, all right, there's no resting the mind through the weekend and going back fresh on Monday. It's like a hidden secret that hopefully if you go to the right course, you step in, all of a sudden things shift, right? The morning's there, you've got your cup of coffee, you're surrounded by others that are in the same situation as you, and hopefully you're making new connections, learning new skills that you can take with you. Hopefully, and what I've found for many courses is you go back in on Monday and you actually feel kind of excited to use these new techniques, this new information. So it's no different than going to the gym Monday morning where you think, oh man, like getting up out of bed, why am I doing this to myself? And then you start the work day afterward and you feel energized and ready to go.
You talked a little bit, I think, there earlier on saying there's a time when it's okay to not want to do continuing education. Maybe you're just like, this is too much for me right now. And then there's going to be, sounds like there's probably other times when you're ready, you're fired up, you want to learn, you have a line of sight into exact coursework or topics you want to pursue. Take me through kind of a career progression when you're early out of school. Maybe this is your perspective. Maybe then you go on, you get married, you have children. Maybe that's a time when you're like, I can't get a course in. I got baseball with the kids and hockey with the kids and I got to do this and that. Kind of take me through a little bit of your career profession. So as ready, when you're in a place where you're not ready to pursue, the continuing education component, feel okay with that and to know that there'll be a better time for you to really get fired up again.
Right.
I don't know if I asked that question right, but
yeah, no, that's good. The way that I think about it is the balance is beautiful. So in other words, if you've got experience getting into a clinic, some exposure to, let's say, some hands-on training, lab time, because I will always say, hands down, one-on-one mentorship or group work mentorship, nothing beats it, right? We go through school in which we're having mentorship. We come out with a scope of knowledge that gives us the basic skills to be proficient at work. And then we're honestly kind of left on our own, right? It's just us and the patient. It's an opportunity to step in and utilize that. But for the times in your life where you're like, it doesn't make sense to step away. There is so much that we can pull from, let's say it's staying at home watching a virtual course. It could be a recorded one where you can watch it at the time that's right for you. You might be listening to something educational on your way to work or traveling to see a family member. As far as like articles, studying information that's out there, just taking the time to read through things, write things out, just like you would study in school is hugely valuable. In fact, if all you do is step into courses, you experience it, you engage in the class, but you never follow up afterward on your own, you pull little from that. So take advantage of the times where it's like, I'm not going to invest a weekend in a course, and figure out what can you pull to either study on your own, find the times. Many times that's actually when the magic happens. You make the connections and you go in on Monday well rested and you're like, I want to try this out. I have a better understanding of what I've learned.
You just mentioned virtual courses. I believe your institute is coming out with virtual hybrid courses in the very near future. Are they just as good as an in-person? Is there a time when you're like, yeah, you can get away with a hybrid, but you need to do this, and this needs to be done in the clinic, hands-on with the team around you?
Right. I try to fight being old school in my thinking with this, but what's kind of cool between myself and the instructors is that there's this, particularly with certain topics, locations, times a year, we know engagement isn't there. In fact, the worst thing is you want to hold a course, you want to offer something, you don't have the sign up to be able to do that. So it has to be canceled or rescheduled. The burning kind of desire to create an experience that you step away from virtually that's just as good is that we want people to have the opportunity. So far, we've started to this out with our pelvic health courses. We're looking at it with mastering the upper extremity certification, and we've had good feedback, good reviews. What it really comes down to is kind of fine tuning what and how you use the technology and the time. So for example, let's say, we need some lab time here. Lab time can be performed at home virtually. You just might have to have a loved one or a coworker that you pull in. So we have to figure out, hey, let's use this 1 hour of time during the class. It's condensed, it's all lab, and the instructor can actually, what you're doing through the camera, give feedback. You asked about, what can't we do virtually? My old school thing right now, like our manual orthopedic, kind of the foundational training for outpatient care, where you got to practice joint mobilizations, hands-on feel. I think that's going to be a challenge. You can use virtual to see what someone's doing, to speak through it. Let's say you can't find something when you're palpating. Nothing beats an instructor or an assistant that can come over. They find it, they help put your hand there and make that connection. So,
is there a time when you, in your career, when you maybe aren't fired up, that you should try to find that fire? Because it's so important. Say a new grad comes out, you said they have a great foundation, but when you enter a clinic and you see your first patient, it gets really real really quickly. And maybe you don't have a large team around you, maybe you don't have that group mentorship. Is that an important time to pursue continuing education, even when you're feeling stressed? Like, fight through it, get to those courses, become a better clinician? Or when you get out of school, stay the course, get some experience, and then a year or two out, that's when you want to get fired up because you've got a lot of good personal experience under your belt. Now you can layer the continuing education on that. Is there a time when you want to hit the gas in your career?
Right. I might almost switch the continuing education and just use the term self-development. And I think about it on multiple levels. Number one, as a profession, when you hear about individuals that they're stressed in day-to-day work, they're struggling with the job, the responsibilities, the asks. Internally, from my experience, I found that through a lot of investment in time and training, there's a reward. Things do become easier. And going back to what we said earlier, like most clinicians, almost all of them come out of school. If you're lucky, you've got some structured mentorship, but the majority of your day is on your own with treating the patients. It's not obvious to everyone, I don't think, that the investment pays off to make life more enjoyable at work. It's easier, the results are better. From an individual's perspective, having said that, the fire should come from, particularly the direct truth, is like that patient in front of you that is not getting better. If you aren't aware of what else you could be doing, and the patient honestly trying to get better, but they aren't where they want to be, that should be that warning light or that indicator to say it's time to work on your own self-development. Whether that is pulling up articles, pulling up, recorded courses, or investing in a weekend to take a class. So I would challenge any clinician out there, and I keep this value for myself too. There are always better ways to treat someone, but you don't know that until you identify it and learn about it.
We've given people that have considered continuing education, and whether they're fired up or not very fired up, or facing the word that we don't want to talk about in the industry. It's hard. Life is hard. Careers are hard. Learning is hard. Life and learning balance is something that I think you shedded a lot of light on for all of us to consider. Final words you want to throw out there to the teammates thinking about continuing education?
Right. I think the big thing is, no matter who you are or where you are, continue to work on and find that network of support. That goes back to that term mentorship, whether we're talking about being in the clinic and making that decision to say, I need to reach out to someone to ask, can you help me in this situation, because that hour with the patient was hell and I don't want that to happen again. There's got to be a better way. And also just, being able to reach out to others and express when you feel like you're struggling, this is challenging, or what do I need to do? Lean on others, because we're our own support, honestly. So that's one of the things I love about doing what I do, honestly, is yes, we create content, we offer things, but it's those special situations where we connect with someone and can offer guidance, viewpoints, and assistance to steer them in the right direction.
All right. If you got any questions on that, Ashley Langford, hit him up on LinkedIn. Total legend. All right. Thank you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next session.
Thanks, everyone.